This video is for anybody who's on a food healing journey or is a little curious or interested in internal family systems. I've been working on healing things around food scarcity, whether that was from my big family or from the way that we treated each other and behaved within the household. If you don't know, it's Rye Nicole. She's a great person to follow and look into. She has incredible content about all of these types of things. So last week I was traveling for a funeral and I stayed at a family home that I've spent a lot of time in over the years. And two of my other siblings, I have a big family, and two of my other siblings were staying in the house with me, along with all of our kids. There were more kids than adults. Now, this was a night where everybody was kind of all for themselves, where some people had eaten, some people hadn't. There were leftovers. Not everybody wanted leftovers. So people were kind of picking and choosing what they were going to do. And so I got my own takeout. I was at the table. The kids had left the table, and my sister, one of my sisters, was sitting across from me. And I had gotten to the point where I said to myself, okay, you're finished eating. You put the rest in the fridge. You can have the rest tomorrow. And a little voice inside of me, who I'm going to call Little Sweetie, little voice said, don't do that, because if you do that, then you won't be able to eat it because someone else will eat it. And I audibly went, I didn't know that was there. And my sister, who was sitting across from me, who was not part of the internal conversation I was having, said, what? And then I explained what had just happened. She introduced me to internal family systems, so she and I got to have a really good conversation about what was going on for me and what had gone on in our household and things that it was connected to. Now, if you know internal family systems at all, which I do have 2 different books on internal family systems, which you could fully get. They're in the links in my bio. Anyway, if you are familiar with internal family systems, there are typically 3 main parts. You have your managers who are taking care of things on a daily basis. You have your firefighters who come in when things are kind of hitting the fan. And then you have your exiles, the vulnerable parts of you. And so the most vulnerable parts are protected by the managers and the firefighters. So as you get used to this work with internal family systems, you understand these different parts of you. And when something like that comes up, a little voice that says, no, please don't do that, like Little Sweetie for me, I knew I had to go inward, talk to that little part, and see what was going on. In this environment that I had been in this past week, where I was staying with family who I had grown up with, in a home where I had spent a lot of time, that little voice was feeling vulnerable. It doesn't normally feel like that at home. Little Sweetie was worried about 2 things primarily. The first being that someone else would eat something that I wanted, which was mine. The second issue was that there wasn't going to be any food left that I wanted to eat. Not only that there wouldn't be any food, but that there wouldn't be any food left that I would actually want to eat. So it's kind of a 2-part second. But once I spent a few seconds with that part, I was able to let that thing go and then take that food and put it in the fridge and not think about it again. Although I am telling the story, so I am still thinking about it. But the fact that I had an audible healing situation right in front of somebody else just goes to show that you can continue to do these things. It doesn't take that long if you can kind of chip away at it. So if you're on this journey, I want to encourage you to continue and be gentle with yourself and allow for those little voices to come up and be heard so that they can be nourished and go on their way. My name is Adelaide. Happy healing. Bye.